Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the new new-ish sort of Marvel Legends Spider-Man SANDMAN. This is part of the retro carded batch of figures, which is always a fun thing, but I don't know. Question of the day, how many of you guys get these figures to keep on the card? I'm guessing most of you open them up, but I'm guessing some of you do keep them on the card, and it's definitely a perfectly valid thing to do. They are very well done cards. Like, Hasbro nailed the retro look. They're pretty cool, especially these Spider-Man ones. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the figure, so let's go ahead and get them off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about, let's say just shy of 6 3/4 inches, which makes him pretty close to 17 centimeters. And is it entirely new? Some parts are probably reused, right? I don't know for sure. I know it's new compared to the last SANDMAN figure, so that's a good thing. There are a lot of good things going on with this guy. Since we already did a question of the day, we're going to go ahead and do another one. Who's your favorite Spider-Man villain? You cannot pick a symbiote. Ha ha ha. You can't pick a symbiote, so who is your favorite villain? I would go with probably Mac Gargan. I like him a lot, although Doc Ock does hold a special place in my heart. Okay, so let's talk about the aesthetics on this guy. There are some good things. The arms have some nice meat to them. The shoulders aren't incredibly tiny. I do think they should be a little bit bigger. Generally speaking, you want to have like a triangle shape from the shoulder down to the elbow. I mean, not exactly, but you can do that for sure. So, it's not bad, but it definitely could be a little bit better. I don't love the way the stripes all combine into one giant mass of green over here. It's okay, I don't really care, but you know, it is going to look weird from some angles probably. Some people who do photography might care, I don't personally. Other things I noticed, the arms are very glossy and poorly painted. You can see a lot of green poking through on there, especially on this side. Doesn't look good, does not look good. Luckily we have some accessories to hide that, but should be molded in flesh tone and then the green painted on top. If they really wanted to do that, they probably should have done that. Okay, so other things to note, the stripe work on the chest is really nice. Like, it does line up through the ab crunch also for the most part. Like, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Nice and clean, nice and opaque, really no issues there. Doesn't line up on the back at all unless you lean it forward, but it still looks good overall. I'm fine with all of that. I do think the head sculpt is pretty good. Paint job isn't great, but it's good enough. That's fine. His overall body proportions aren't terrible. They're not great. He does have a big thigh gap. His legs are really straight up and down, and I know what you're thinking, some of you. He's wearing slacks. That's why his legs look like that, except he's pretty much always drawn with a little bit of meat under those legs, under those pants. So a little bit of thigh shape would have been good, and it would have made the thigh gap look smaller, because it would have been smaller, and that would have been a good thing. Also, he's usually drawn with a pretty big upper body, and this is where such that his chest is the same width as his waist, so it gives him kind of a frumpy look. He doesn't really have any musculature. Like, he's got dad bod basically. So again, I don't know why our comic book characters don't look like comic book characters. This mostly looks like a guy doing cosplay of a comic book character. So not in love with it, but it's definitely better than before. But honestly, like, for me, the lack of it looking like a comic book character does throw it off a lot. I do think his head's a little bit too big. Also, I'll do a Photoshop. You guys love the Photoshops. I'll do another Photoshop for you. It should be pretty quick. I'm noticing as I'm looking at him right now, his head looks kind of weird. Is that just... Mine looks like it's kind of pushed in. Like, broke his orbital bone right here. It's just a little bit pushed in maybe on that side. I don't know. Focus. It's hard to say. I don't know if it's showing up on camera. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a good head sculpt, that the paint just doesn't really do it justice, so that's fine. Yeah, it's okay. There's nothing terribly wrong with it, just lots of things that could be a decent amount better. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 for the aesthetic. It's not bad at all, but it's not impressive. The arms being glossy and poorly done really throws it off. Luckily, we can talk about the accessories. We do have an alternate head. That's pretty well done. I think that's pretty cool. I'll take that. Then we have some alternate hands, which are the big sand feature hands, which are very nicely sculpted. I love the texture, and they have paint on them. That's a nice touch. I love that. And to go with those, we have these pieces that go on over the forearms to make it look like he's morphing into sand. That'll hide those hideous forearms, and that's a nice touch. And they're all nicely sculpted, nicely painted. I'll go 8 out of 10. I think that's pretty good. I'd like to see like a gripping hand, but hey, you know what? This is pretty good. This is okay. So that's not bad. Let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. The head is on the old style joint, which is just the hinge. Doesn't go back very far, which is unfortunate. It does look down. That's okay. Okay, there. I got to go back a little bit farther. It was stuck. So that's fine. It's not as good as a double ball peg, but it works, of course, to get your rotation. Any attitude? Yeah, we get a little bit, not too much. There's a little bit of lollipop syndrome going on. You can see the head sits up pretty high on top of that neck. And again, the head slightly big. Generally speaking, you want your villains to have slightly smaller heads than is probably normal, especially when you're going to give him really narrow chest. The big head look, it just doesn't make him imposing at all. This guy looks like somebody wearing like padded clothes and has a big head and skinny little legs, so not impressive. Okay, so shoulders, they work pretty well. That's fine. They go up just about horizontal, not completely, but if you force it, you can get it, so that's not bad. Full rotation, that's fine. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow, there we go. Double jointed elbow works no problem at all. That is good. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge, of course, though they're only fists, so that's no big deal. Ab crunch goes back. It is painted. That's fine. Doesn't look terrible, but because the upper body is so underdeveloped, leaning him back makes him look really just overweight. Like his chest is already tiny and his torso, like lower torso, his abdomen's pretty big, and this makes him look like he's actually just a chungus. So that's not great. Going forward, the ab crunch has virtually no range because, you know, we don't do that anymore. We don't do torso articulation anymore. Oh, also, just a side note, why did they cut that triangle piece out of the ab crunch? Like, it would have been perfectly hidden to just go straight across where that line is. If they're going to put that line there, that's perfect. It would have been good even without it. It doesn't add anything. Why did they cut that out? That's so strange. But there's no big gap in here, so that's good. But yeah, ab crunch is just blah. Waist twist is fine. Hips go out to the side. Only about 45 degrees. That's pretty limited for no real reason. Going forward, they're fine. A little bit strange looking in here, but it's not bad. They don't go really back too far at all. Or they don't go back really too far at all. Thigh swivel is fine. Double jointed knee is fine. Feet don't go back. Feet go forward a little bit. And you get a little bit of a crooked ankle rocker. Yeah, it's not like it's a crazy impressive figure. It's acceptable. I'll give the articulation a 7. It's, no, well, yeah, 7. What the heck? 7's fine. Torso's not great, though. So yeah, it's not like it's a knockout figure. It's not bad, but meh, the accessories are the best part about it, honestly. And at $20, I'd say this is good. Now that they're creeping up to $25, and I don't know where people are getting these things and how much they're paying for them and how that's working at this point as we transition. But this is definitely not a $25 figure for me. And at $20, I'm still a little bit disappointed because the arms look funny and the overall physique is just not comic book character physique. So what's the point? Really, I'm getting to the point where it's like, if you're going to have a comic book collectible, it should look like the character. Male, female, whatever it is. If it's a robot, it should look like the robot looks. And none of these characters, none of these figures are being portrayed accurately from either DC or Marvel. So I'm pretty bummed out about that. But as it is, as Marvel Legends generally are, this one's fine. I'm going to give it an overall rating of 8 out of 10 just because the accessories are pretty well done. And there's nothing egregious about it. It's just another blah. Meh. It doesn't do anything for me because it doesn't look like a comic book character. Doesn't have the right shape, doesn't have the right proportions. So there it is. Let me know how you guys feel about all the things I said in this video. If you like the figure, if you don't like the figure, all that kind of stuff. If you did like the video, though, you can give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down will do. That's just fine. And if you haven't subscribed, you should consider it. I do have new videos almost every single day, basically every day but Wednesdays. And if you do subscribe, you can come back for the thousands of videos that are already on the channel too. So even if I miss a day, there's plenty to watch. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.